a giant mass of corpses, an alien-esque core, a history rooted deep in biblical stories. This is the one that is many. This is Legion. Today we are diving into one of the most iconic, unsettling bosses in all of Castlevania, a grotesque monument to loss of self and overwhelming horror. In the Bible, Legion isn't a name you'd want to wear proudly, unless you're a demon boasting about your sheer numbers and power. The story is found back in Mark 5, 1-20, with echoes in Matthew 8, 28-34, and Luke 8, 26-39. It's a simply terrifying glimpse into possession taken to its darkest extreme. Jesus arrives in the region, and almost immediately a man possessed by unclean spirit rushes out from among the tombs to meet him. This isn't your typical exorcism story. The man lives among the graves, can't be chained, and howls like a creature torn between worlds. It's the kind of scene you'd expect in a horror game, right before the inevitable boss fight. When Jesus asks the name of its spirit, the answer is chilling and unforgettable. My name is Legion, for we are many. A Roman legion was no small thing, anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 soldiers. So this legion isn't one demon, it's a full-scale invasion. Like the legions of Rome that conquered nation, this spiritual force has seized control of a man's entire body and soul. This theme, many in one, reoccurs throughout biblical imagery of evil and apocalypse. In Revelations, describes the locust as being the abyss swarming under one king, Abaddon, the angel of the bottomless pit. Daniel 7 tells of a monstrous empire with many horns. Revelation 13 reveals a beast with multiple heads and crowns, many parts, but a singular destructive will. Legion is a microcosm of that cosmic horror, individually lost, swallowed up by a hive mind bent on destruction. The setting itself from that biblical story is soaked in death. The man is among the tombs, a chilling echo of Isaiah 65:4, where the wicked hide in graves and shadowy places. Legion's proximity to death, physically and spiritually, mirrors its Castlevania incarnation, often lurking deep in the castle's catacombs, a living monument to mass death and decay. The demon begs not to be cast out of the region, but instead to be sent into a herd of about 2,000 pigs. Jesus grants this, and the possessed swine rush into the sea and drowned. Pigs are unclean animals in Jewish law, reinforcing the idea of corruption at Legion's core. In Castlevania, the swarm of unclean hosts isn't drowned. Instead, they become Legion's living armor, protecting its glowing core like a hive of locusts defending their king. It's a haunting blend of biblical terror and visceral body horror that makes Legion so unsettling in the games. The name carries centuries of dread, overwhelming numbers, loss of identity, and evil so invasive it turns the human body into an impenetrable fortress. In the Bible, Legion is a dark force driven into the sea. In Castlevania, it's a floating graveyard that will never rest. When Legion first appears in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, it's not your typical boss fight. There's no ominous door slam, no booming soundtrack cue. Instead, you're wandering into a quiet, shadowy part of the inverted castle's library, and there it is, silent and waiting. The design hits hard before you even strike. At first glance, it's a massive pale sphere, but then you realize it's composed entirely of tangled human bodies, fused together in a grotesque orbit around a glowing, featureless core. It's the kind of horror that pixel art rarely captures, implied motion and suffocating mass that your brain can't stop processing even when you look away. The fight itself is deceptively simple. Legion slowly drifts towards you, occasionally unleashing some projectiles, knocking you back with the sheer bulk. Don't forget all the corpses. But the real terror unfolds when you deal damage. The outer shell of the corpses begins to peel away, tumbling into the abyss below layer by layer, revealing the frantic insect-like movements of the glowing core beneath. Each layer destroyed exposes a more desperate, more vulnerable core, until finally there's nothing left to hide behind. This peeling effect is brilliant for multiple reasons. One, it's mechanically satisfying, a visceral progress bar made of corpses. And two, it's thematically perfect, a slow, violent stripping away of a hive mind's defenses, body by body. The setting intensifies the horror. The cramped, inverted catacombs and its hollow shelves and precarious platforms tricks you into false safety, until Legion's sheer size forces risky jumps and traps you into corners. The muted background colors make the bone-white mass stand out starkly, like an open wound against stone. When the fight ends, there's no triumphant cutscene, no exposition dump, just a quiet moment as the last corpses fall away, leaving the core's remains behind. You collect your spoils and move on, but that image lingers. It's a mark of a great horror boss, one that sticks in your mind long after it's gone. Legion wouldn't stay buried. It returned in multiple Castlevania titles, each time with a new twist, but always holding its core idea. Many bodies, one will, one horrifying presence. After Symphony of the Night, Legion didn't vanish. It mutated, resurfaced, shook things up. Each appearance rethreads its symbol, and horror into a new form. In Circle of the Moon, Legion boils down to its essence, a fearsome cluster of disembodied heads darting across the screen. No grand design, just broken humanity in motion. It's fast, it's persistent, and at its core, a visual whisper of what Legion truly represents. Identity stripped and parts scattered. Harmony of Dissonance is a defining double feature. Legion Saint floats with angelic wings. Saint Halo bodies turn relics of twisted worship. It's desecrating divinity, and your task is to chip away at its piety to reach the core. Legion Corpse unravels the flesh for bones, hardening the horror. The shell doesn't break until it shifts, revealing a skeletal core. In Aria of Sorrow, Legion appears again, but this time has more of a fetal blob incubated in sin look, floating in a golden cage. Sin sanctified, stripped of the shell, and you harvest its Legion laser soul, a weapon born from the corpse-spawned hive. In Curse of Darkness, Legion inhabits the bone-lined heart of Garibaldi Temple. You climb a spiraling walkway carved from bone while faceless zombies spiral upward and explode with fluid violence. Strike the shell, avoid the core crushing down, and brace for the reveal. Nucleus, a humanoid horror born by a glowing heart, an unshackling of misery unleashed. For Portrait of Ruin, it's a return to old design, but the horror is dulled. Legion stands against the backdrop of the Nation of Fools, tentacles weaving, lasers bursting, and fire raining down. Familiar mechanics braced in fresh fury. Grimoire of Souls elevates Legion to a cursed vital soul boss, stronger, maddening, consuming identities with burn and curse, a final exclamation mark on the legacy of horror. Each version is Legion, yes, but each version shifts the lens. Circle of Moon is the stripped-down menace. Harmony of Dissonance is sacrilegious and skeletal. Aria of Sorrow is perverted sanctity. Curse of Darkness, primal, explosive ritual. Portrait of Ruin, familiar escalation. Despair in the Grimoire is nightmare intensified. Legion isn't a one-night terror, it's a reoccurring echo. With each return it morphs, but the theme remains. Uncountable corpses, one relentless will, and the echo of every stolen soul. Each iteration stays true to the central idea. The many bodies, one will. There's so much packed into Legion beyond the thousands of corpses. It's body horror distilled to its purest, most unsettling form. At its core is the terror of complete loss of identity, and Legion embodies that perfectly. The bodies that make up the mask have no distinguishing features, no hair, no faces, just pale, blank imitations of humanity. Gender is ambiguous, barely suggested. In life, we fight to be noticed and to be ourselves. The souls trapped within Legion, they lost that fight. Stripped of everything that made them unique, reduced to cells in a grotesque living organism. In Castlevania lore, Legion's core, sometimes alien, sometimes demonic looking, controls this swarm like a hive mind. Once absorbed, a person's humanity is erased, rewritten to serve Legion's singular, ruthless will. to punish and destroy any of those who enter the castle's depths. It's a nightmare not for how many attacks it throws at you, but for what it represents. A being forged of countless dead, bound by a will not their own, denying them peace forever. Legion isn't just a boss, it's a horror of becoming one of many, consumed until nothing remains of who you once were. Legion isn't a commander, a general, or one of Dracula's lieutenants. It's more like a symptom, something the castle coughs up as a byproduct of its evil essence. Legion feels less like a creature with intent and more like a spiritual wound festering deep in the castle's heart. It's rarely front and center. Instead, it's buried in forgotten catacombs, rotting dungeons, or lightless caverns. Legion doesn't guard gates or thrones, it just exists. This placement matters because it implies Legion isn't stationed or ordered around. It's spawned by darkness itself, like mold growing in a damp corner. More a product of the castle's evil than Dracula's direct design. One of the enduring ideas in Castlevania lore is that Dracula's castle is semi-sentient. Not just stone and mortar, but alive in its own terrible way. Shaped by centuries of bloodshed and dark memory, the castle shifts rooms, changes corridors, births horrors without command. Legion could be one of those horrors, a mass of souls harvested over hundreds of years, shaped and bound by the castle's own will. Each body is that sphere might once have been a victim who died within these walls, stripped of individuality and trapped in endless torment. It's like other manifestations in the series, enemies and bosses made flesh from the castle's trauma. But Legion is unique because it's not just one monster, it's a crowd. A silent, floating monument to countless lives of the castle has consumed. Legion isn't just another entry in Castlevania's monster encyclopedia. It's one of the rare bosses that leaves a lasting impression on the series and on players. Ask any longtime fan about their first encounter and you'll get the same response. That slow, creeping realization of what you're looking at, followed by an uncomfortable feeling that it's watching you back. Over the years, Legion gained somewhat of a cult following, not because it's mechanically challenging, these fights are really straightforward, but because it's a powerful horror image that lingers. Fans still create art, sprite recreations, 3D models, and horror illustrations that lean even deeper into the rotting Lovecraftian nightmare of the design. Theories abound. Some see Legion as a living mass grave, the souls of Dracula's victims fused into one. Others interpret it as the castle's will made flesh, a spiritual landfill of every life it's claimed. A popular interpretation suggests the glowing core is the original host, the one who became many, trapped forever inside. Legion never needed codex entries or exposition to make it memorable. It thrives in the gaps, the empty spaces where you fill the horrors in yourself. That mystery is what remained alive in fan discussions for decades now. Among reoccurring Castlevania bosses, Legion stands out, not just a monster to kill, but a nightmare you carry long after the credits roll. Just to recap, a biblical terror to pixelated nightmare, Legion is a haunting reminder of Castlevania's gothic horror roots. What did Legion mean to you? Drop a comment below and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into horror gaming and all of its dark corners. For me, what stands out is that Legion began as a man possessed in a biblical story with horrifying implications, transformed into a pixelated monstrosity. It's proof that while Castlevania may not always be seen as a horror game, its roots are forever entwined in the Gothic tradition. So next time we're going to be examining one of my favorite locations in horror gaming. I'm Adam the Horror Historian, and we'll be welcoming you next time to Bright Falls. Till then, stay scared, stay curious.